Hello and welcome to Good Morning Sibos. I'm Nadine DeReza.
And I'm Stephen Chia. It is great to be back hosting SibosTV.
Yes.
You know, not too long ago we were doing this exact same thing, just slightly over a year ago.
In Geneva.
In Geneva.
But
so
Toronto, here we are.
And it's fantastic to be here. SibosTV, we will bring you the inside stories on the key issues, the movers and shakers in the industry, and also the hot debates from the conference.
And from our studio here at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, we're broadcasting live throughout the week to showcase the very best of Sibos 2017.
And what better way to start your day than with Good Morning Sibos? It's live at 9 o'clock with a panel of journalists to preview what to look out for here at Sibos. We'll also be giving you a little inspiration of what to explore outside the conference with our favourite picks of things to do and to see in Toronto.
Definitely going to see the CN Tower again this year.
You've been telling me that, I know.
Yep, and you can come with me if you like. Niagara Falls on Friday. I'm looking, anybody want to join me? Please come along. And Talking Sibos starts every day at 10:45. And this morning, Stephen, I'm going to be heading up to the Learn Zone, talking to delegates to find out what they're expecting from this year's programme. So please don't be shy. I don't bite. If you see me, come and have a chat. You can have worldwide fame on SibosTV.
We would love to have you on our show. Well, straight after Talking Sibos, we'll be bringing you the opening plenary, which will be setting up the industry challenges for the year ahead.
And at 1 p.m, it's Lunch with Sibos, featuring panel discussions, session previews, and also the Sibos Game Changers, which I know you're involved with, Stephen. And they're in-depth interviews, aren't they, with key thought leaders and influencers from the world of finance and beyond.
And after lunch at 2 p.m, we'll bring you today's big issue debate, an essential conference session exploring cybersecurity and digitization.
At 3 p.m, join us for Cybers Today, and that's for interviews with industry leaders. We've got more panel discussions and some insider tips on how to get the most out of your time here in Toronto.
So there's plenty to look forward to then, and for more insights into a few of the many highlights, we're joined this morning by Head of Sibos, Sven Bosu, and Sibos Conference Manager, Alan Rowan. Morning, guys.
Good morning. Lovely to have you back here on the sofa again. I can't believe it's 12 months since we were last with you. So why, Sven, are we here in Toronto for Cybers 2017?
Three big reasons. First of all, this year is Canada's 150th birthday, so we thought it's the good occasion to be in Toronto. Secondly, Toronto is a financial hub in North America. And thirdly, logistically, this venue works so well for us. So glad to be back.
Good reasons, I think.
Well, Alan, many of the delegates here will be regulars, having been to previous Sibos conferences. They'll be saying, what's different this year?
Well, one of the things that isn't different is the structure of the conference. We received great feedback that having the banking, securities, compliance and technology streams worked really well. But I suppose one of the big differences would be that the themes of the big issue debates really filter throughout the whole conference.
And what are those themes that you're referring to?
So we have cybersecurity again right on top. We have geopolitics, definitely one of the topics of the day. We also have the future of money, which is focusing on platforms and data. And then disruptive innovation and artificial intelligence, really big story this year.
And I can imagine the delegates loving those themes. So there are a huge amount of sessions, aren't there? When you look at the Sibos issues, you can see the centrefold. So many sessions.
Absolutely. There's a nice preview of what's going on throughout the week there. We don't do a daily edition this year. It's just the one edition for the week with some articles. And then, as you said, the centrefold has all of the sessions there in one place.
Now, who had to proofread that? Was that you?
It wasn't an easy task.
No. It's hard to pick with so many great sessions to attend. But Sven, in addition to the conference, there's also a lot to see and to do right here around the city centre. What are some of the big features here at the conference?
I would definitely have a look at Inner Tribe. It's very good network space. They serve reasonable coffee, so we'd stop by there. On the bridge we're doing some art, so that's nice as well. We have a lounge, we have library, so there's a lot going on. We can actually sit down, network, talk to people. It's a great place to be.
And Sven, I'm going to be filming around the fintech. Now, I'm sure you've got the inside track. So what's happening around there?
Yeah, so fintech is becoming really important for our industry. So we decided to bring in a little bit more. And we're going to have a fintech marketplace with 15 established fintech players. And then on the Canada Lounge, we're going to have 32 Canadian startups showcasing their products and services to the global financial world. And in order to further stimulate that, we're going to have a fintech theater, TED Talks, chats, by those fintech guys showcasing their products. So yeah, it's an interesting zone.
Sounds really buzzing,
doesn't it? That sounds really
exciting,
it does.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, I mean, InnoTribe is another big feature. Tell us more about what's happening there this year.
So InnoTribe and their conference, they're kind of focusing more on how to innovate this year as opposed to what innovations are taking place, really learning from other industries. And they've kind of split their program over 4 days. So they're looking at identity, legacy, business models, and then looking ahead towards the future. So they have a great program for the week there.
And it is a great program, and there's so much going on. So how do you keep on top of everything? What's your advice for people getting around the conference over the next 4 days?
The first thing to do is download the Sibos app, because that has the entire program. You can create your own agenda. It also has geolocation function. So if you're a little bit lost, just ask the machine. He'll tell you where to go. And there is also the classic advice, do get good shoes.
Okay, because you're going to do a huge amount of walking around. You're going to keep fit here, aren't you? Yes.
I've just quickly pulled up the app. I mean, for example, you can look at the program, it'll show you the sessions. If you just click on it, it'll actually give you a map showing you where that session might be, or perhaps the booth of a company that you're looking for. So it makes it really easy to get about, you know, because as you mentioned, it is a rather large venue. So I think the app is really useful, and also it sends in little reminders of things you might want to attend. So making life a lot easier.
Very impressed that he's downloaded the app already. Well done, Stephen.
I want to get around.
Okay. And, go on, Alan. I know it's hard for you probably to pick out one session.
But if you had to, yeah.
Yeah, no, I never, ever pick out one session. I think I'll avoid the sessions, and I'll go for speakers. There's some great speakers this week. Admiral Michelle Howard, who spoke in Boston and really impressed all of us in Boston, is here today. She's in InnoTribe, she's in the Big Issue debate, and she's speaking in a market infrastructure session later. She is fantastic, a must-see for everybody, I'd say. Sir Tim Berners-Lee is speaking about the past, the present, and the future of the internet tomorrow. We have the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, coming in to close on Thursday. And then, of course, today we have Dave McKay, the CEO of RBC, giving the opening address. So great speakers.
Absolutely. But how about the opening plenary today? Any inside knowledge on what we can expect? Have you had a sneaky peek?
Well, of course, we have the SWIFT address from the SWIFT chairman, Yawar Shah, and then our CEO, Godfried Leibrand. And then we will have Dave Mackay come up, and he will speak about technology and how that's really influenced, like the ABCD, as he calls it, the artificial intelligence, blockchain, cybersecurity, and data, really how that's affecting the industry.
And he's obviously representing the Canadian bank, isn't he, as well?
He's representing RBC, but also really the financial industry.
Yeah.
Well, Sven, we know here at Sibos, you know, we're always looking to give back to the community, and we always pick a local charity to support. Yeah. For this year, what might that be?
We're working together with Sketch. Sketch is a lovely organization. They find children who do not necessarily have all the means to develop the talents they have, and they turn them into entrepreneurs, into artists. And some of that work is going to be seen on the bridge connecting the north and the south building, so do have a look when crossing that. And on the Swiss stand, we're going to do a game, as always. And being in Canada, it's about hockey.
Yay!
So there's an ice hockey simulator, and if you play the game, you're actually being given a little ice hockey stick as a souvenir. But also each time you play the game, we give 30 euros to Sketch, hoping to achieve 40,000 euros by end of the week.
Yeah. That's really neat, actually, and obviously you can't escape hockey when you come to Canada. I got in the school team for grass hockey, but ice, that's a whole new ball game.
Give it a go.
No. Well, and also that's a lovely gift, isn't it, for your children, nieces and nephews, I think. Although they may not thank you for it, actually, but there we go. But that's lovely. And Alan, for the first time, what I love is delegates can now vote using their smartphones, which is so much easier using Slido.
Slido, yeah, indeed. So what they can do is either go on to slido.com/Sibos, but the actual easier way is to log into the Sibos app and then go to the interact area, and it's really easy. It's a great way of interacting with what's going on stage and also influencing what's being said there.
Yeah, because you can like questions, can't you? And push it up the leaderboard.
Right.
I've used it at other conferences.
It's great for people like us when we're moderating a conference, because then we get a sense of what the crowd out there is really wanting to ask.
Yes, and like a temperature check. I think it's wonderful.
Absolutely.
I like the look of that, yes.
Well, Sven, what else do delegates need to know as they make their way around?
One thing I would do is there is a bit of a distance between the exhibition space and the plenary. As Alan mentioned, we have some great speakers, but do take the time to get there. It takes you about 12 minutes, but we have experience on the bridge. There's going to be free niblets and chooses. So it's a great experience. So do take the time and do download the app and use it.
Okay,
And
we
it's
will.
a pretty special plenary this year.
Oh,
Plenary
yes,
room, isn't
indeed. We're sitting in a real theatre.
Ooh, with proper seating.
With proper seating,
Absolutely,
proper
yeah.
lighting, proper sound. You're going to be
Wow.
impressed.
Well, indeed. Well, I know you gentlemen are going to be incredibly busy over the next 4 days. So we wish you the very best of luck. Thank you very much for popping by. And we look forward to seeing you around. You will say hello to us as we're walking by.
Absolutely.
Lovely. Thank you very
All the
much.
best, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So a top tip, download the Sibos app to get the most out of the next few days. I think that's a really good
Download
idea.
it today because it's the start of the conference and it will really help you guide your way around the conference. And once you get a bit more used to where things are, it'll be a bit easier.
Follow your lead.
Well, we'll be here, so... Well, as a Sibos delegate, you should also have received another special gift. Right here, the key to Toronto. Now, this special key unlocks VIP perks and exclusive discounts at a range of partner restaurants, bars, and attractions in the city. So we actually sent Sven out to check out some of these great places that have been lined up for you. Take a look.
Welcome to Sibos 2017. I've got my Toronto Per Guide, so let me take you on a whirlwind tour of some of the highlights. First stop is Ripley's Aquarium, which features North America's longest underwater viewing tunnel. So Amanda, what is Ripley's Aquarium about?
Ripley's Aquarium of Canada is all about the fish. We have over 20,000 animals on site, over 450 different species of fish. We have exhibits where you can actually touch a bamboo shark or get your nails cleaned by a cleaner shrimp. It's super fun and interactive, so really unique experience.
A lot of people come to Sibos, they're a bit under time pressure, so what are the must-dos?
I definitely would highlight our Canadian Waters exhibit as well as our shark tunnel and just see, our jellies gallery and fish from all over the world. So definitely doable in 2 hours.
Well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to my visit.
We're happy to have you.
Another must-see is the Hockey Hall of Fame, Canada's shrine to one of its most popular sports, ice hockey. Here you'll find memorabilia, interactive simulators, and the famous Stanley Cup Championship trophy. To say that Torontonians love hockey is an understatement. With the start of the new season, there's a great buzz in the air for the local team, Maple Leafs. In many ways, Toronto combines the best of North America and Europe. Nowhere is this better seen than in the Cluny Bistro and Boulangerie, a modern French-inspired restaurant with a twist. So, how would you describe Cluny's?
Cluny is a casual French-inspired restaurant in the Distillery District. We just try to have fun with food, be a little quirky, not take ourselves too seriously. It's a place where you can bring the whole family and just have fun and enjoy.
Of all the dishes, what are the dishes you would need to taste at Cluny's?
Being from East Coast of Canada, from Newfoundland, the salt water's in my veins. So we have the scallop crudo with the house-made fish puff. We have our wild Atlantic turbot served in the weeds, and then we also have a beautiful chilled tomato and melon soup served with shrimp.
Wow, well, chef, thank you very much. The bistro is located in the heart of the Distillery District, where you'll find lots of restaurants, including Pure Spirits Oyster House and Grill. Voted Toronto's top seafood restaurant in 2017, it's a great place for fish and oyster lovers to hang out and savor a great range of local beers. This is just one small taste of what is on offer in Toronto. I do hope you will have the time and discover it for yourself.
Well, it looks like Sven had a fantastic time. Some really good tips there, actually. We're going to have to follow his lead. And remember, all the details of the VIP experiences that Sven talked about and more are in your Toronto Perks Guide. Just show your Toronto key to the staff at each participating venue and they reward you for your visit. So, Stephen, anything caught your eye?
I mean, there's so many places to choose from. I don't know where to begin. And looking at those visuals of where Sven took us, I mean, there are so many places I would like to visit. So this is important.
Yes.
It's a little key ring. Just put it on your key ring, put it in your pocket as you walk about the city.
Do I
Take
get
it out.
one of those?
Oh, But of course, your very own. There you go.
You're a sweetie. Now, I'll tell you what is really good, actually. You could give that as a gift to somebody. Just buy a chain for a loved one, anniversary, wedding, present. Don't call me a cheapskate, though, but I think it's a really good idea.
So that is something you must want to check out when you have time out of the conference. Now, another issue that's a big one here is cybersecurity. It was a big deal last year and on the main stage again this year. So to tell us more about it this morning, we're joined by Mark Hoffman, Chief Information Security Officer at Swift. Mark, welcome.
Lovely to have you here, Mark. Now, I know this is your first time at Sibos, so a big warm welcome to you. And as the Chief Information Security Officer at Swift, I know you can shorten it, but I daren't, just in case I say it incorrectly. What are we talking about in the big issue debate this afternoon?
So first of all, thanks very much for inviting me here. Right, I'm really excited to be here on Sibos, in Toronto, and in this interview here. So the big issue debate today is about digitization and as such a major theme for all the banks and financial service institutes, and what that means for cybersecurity. You know, the more technology we use, and the wider our technology usage gets, and the newer the technology is, right, the more threats we face, and the wider our attack surface gets, right. This is one aspect. Another aspect is, and we've seen that from incidents in the past 12, 18 months, the sophistication of the attacks and the impact of the attacks gets higher and higher. So there's no option to wait just for new incidents to learn from that. You need to develop forward-looking capabilities, right? And I think this is the topic with the big issue debate is today primarily about.
Right, and as you mentioned, cybersecurity will continue to be a challenge as the years move forward. And it's a bit of a race, as in who gets there first. What kind of different perspectives will the panel bring to the discussion?
So first of all, I'm very, very excited that we have Admiral Michelle Howard from the United States Navy as a keynote speaker today.
She's brilliant.
She's brilliant. Not just because she's a great leader and a great speaker, but I think there are some similarities between the challenges the military side faces on the one hand, and we face in our challenge in the cyber arms race, as we call it, right? Then on the panel discussion afterwards, next to Admiral Howard, we have Rowan Amin there, who is global CISO of JP Morgan Chase. And on the other side, we have Pablo Solman, and he's an interesting guy. He's a futurist, an inventor, and he's a hacker. So you see, we have quite a spectrum of interesting and very, very experienced characters here on stage. James Kaplan, who leads the cyber practice at McKinsey, moderates the discussion. So I expect that we get quite interesting discussions on this spectrum and learn something.
So what do you think will be the key takeaways from this particular session?
Hang on, Mark. I
for
think
the audience?
we just want to give you an extra mic because I think we're having a slight grit on that, so make sure we get you clearly.
So I just give you that question again. So what do you think will be the key takeaways for the audience from that particular session?
Yeah. So with such senior guys, it's difficult to anticipate what the outcome will be. My personal expectation will be, cyber risk. You cannot compare this with other risks like credit risk, right? Where you take past times data, quantify that, and predict the future. You need to develop capabilities, right, to anticipate what the threat will be tomorrow and prepare yourself today for that. And this is easily said, difficult to implement. And there's no silver bullet, I can tell you. So I expect that we get some insights and some senior guidance, which shed some light on the path forward.
Yeah, I think so. And you need to shed some light on it. There's no hiding from the situation.
Yeah.
We wish you all the best for that session. Mark, thank you very much for coming in. And don't forget, the big issue debate is at 2 p.m. in the plenary room over in the Inspire Zone.
Well, it's now time to get out of the studio for a bit with a look at some of the fantastic green spaces and outdoor sites in and around Toronto. Take a look.
Often called a city within a park, Toronto has more than 1,500 parks covering over 8,000 hectares. If you want to escape for a few hours to give yourself some headspace, there's everything from beaches and gardens to biking and hiking trails. You can't really come to Toronto without visiting Niagara Falls. It's really 3 falls in one: the American, Bridal Veil and Canadian. The Canadian Falls are better known as the Horseshoe Falls and are the most dramatic. Over 2 million litres of water flows over the falls every second, making a spectacular show. If you can't make it all the way to Niagara, you can still enjoy the waterfront in Toronto. Stretching 46 kilometres, it's one of the longest in the world. The Harbourfront Centre is a vibrant example of urban regeneration, bringing together a marina with the best of Canadian and international arts. Whether it's an early morning run or just capturing a few shots of the city skyline, there's plenty of beautiful outdoor places in Toronto. So hopefully that's given you some great ideas. So Niagara Falls definitely on the list. I went there when I was, 10 years old,
Okay.
so I don't know if it's changed.
So a
So I'm
revisit.
sure it's eroded. And don't forget, a great way also to check out Coronation Park is to join in with the 5K fun run on Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. I've signed you up for it, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
If you want to take part, you can register at the desk in the Connect Zone on level 800 in the South Building. Now, there are not 800 floors here. I just think it's the way they do
It's
things.
just the way they number the floors.
Yeah.
But it has been beautiful. I did go out for a run yesterday evening, and it was just excellent.
You were
So-
spotted, by the way.
Oh, a good thing I ran properly. All right, well, we are now joined by a panel of journalists. Thea George, the Director of Research at Finextra.
And joining her is Catherine Morton, who's the Editor-in-Chief of Trade and Forfeiting Review.
And also Chris Hall, Editor of Sibos Issues. Good morning, everyone. Welcome.
Morning.
Morning. Hi.
So tell us, what are you all looking forward to here at Sibos? Catherine, if you can start.
Well, I think today particularly I'm looking forward to something about correspondent banking and the future of correspondent banking. Our latest issue, if I give a quick plug.
Yeah, turn it around again so we can
sorry,
pick it up.
get it on
Hold
the
it for a
camera.
while.
Oh,
Lovely.
There we go. About beyond correspondent banking. So looking at exactly what's going to happen. It's in a slight state of flux. There's so many interesting things happening at the moment. So I'm kind of holding out on what the panels think is going to be the next steps for it.
And Chris, what about you?
Well, I guess one of the interesting things, not only for today but for the rest of the week, is going to be how the cybersecurity debate has kind of moved on. You guys will remember how big a deal it was in Geneva last year. We really kind of dominated the conference, and there's a big plenary session on cybersecurity later today. Keynote speaker Admiral Howard, lots of people from the industry. And throughout the week, there's a variety of sessions looking at some of the kind of practical aspects about how to identify and tackle cybersecurity, and some of the kind of collaborative aspects and some of the things that banks can be doing on a proprietary basis. So I guess that's going to be a big theme today and throughout the conference.
Thea?
Yeah, so I'm most interested, I think, in the Inner Tribe programme. So Finextra worked with Inner Tribe on their magazine this year, so I've actually spoken already to most of the speakers. And I'm pretty excited about some of the things they're going to be talking about there, which is largely around kind of bringing innovation into practical reality. So for years and years now, we've been talking about innovation in financial services, and the Inner Tribe programme here is really going to talk about how banks can make that real today. I think today there's a session on financial inclusion, which I'm pretty excited about, but as Chris said, this is a whole week-long excitement factor, I think.
And Thea, from your point of view, just building on what you said about Inner Tribe and financial inclusion, what do you think are the big themes for this year's conference?
Well, I think there'll be a number of big themes. Innovation, reacting to disruption has got to be a big one. Catherine mentioned, correspondent banking is in a period of flux. Pretty much all aspects of banking are in a period of flux. I think there'll be quite some discussion about open banking, open financial services driven by regulation and driven by more demanding customers and changing technology. And I also think regulation will still be on the agenda. So the kind of general feeling, I think, is that banks have got their arms around regulation, but they haven't necessarily done it very efficiently. They've thrown armies of people at it, and now the time is to kind of leverage what's called RegTech, this new generation of fintech, to really do that in a much more efficient way.
Catherine, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, coming back to on the correspondent banking side, the Swift GPI initiative is the thing I'm looking at specifically on that, because I think it's now time for banks to step up. We've interviewed corporates, and we know what they want. And they want transparency in payments. They're getting it through Swift GPI. The banks, many of whom I'm speaking to, are saying, yes, this is the way to go. If they don't, there are fintech players that will steal their lunch. Yes. But yes, and then I guess we come on to the whole trade side, which is later in the week. But that's a whole different picture.
So it really sounds like technology, again, very much at the forefront in many of the issues. I mean, Chris, perhaps some of the trends that we'll be looking at as well.
Yeah, I think that we'll see issues around artificial intelligence and machine learning throughout the week, and in different kind of environments. So there'll be, well, what can machine learning do in the kind of cybersecurity field, but also, as Thea mentioned, the kind of throwing armies of people. Everyone at compliance issues, everyone knows that's not sustainable. So I think a lot of banks are looking actively on how can they use robotics, machine learning, in order to be more efficient in how they kind of meet their kind of compliance obligations.
And Catherine, I know you've briefly mentioned corporate and trade topics. So for you, what is front of mind? What should we be thinking about?
Well, okay, so I think Thursday's the big day for most of the trade stuff. There's going to be some really interesting stuff on the whole weaponization of trade, which one of my colleagues, Rebecca, is going to be speaking about on Thursday, and that's going to be very, very interesting. I guess the other thing is coming back to the whole digitization picture. I mean, trade is often seen as the sort of like the laggard on digitization, but there's some interesting stuff happening, and I think that's going to be being picked up on Thursday.
I love that title, the weaponization of trade.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, it's kind of this war we're fighting in a way, right?
It's in here.
In the magazine.
Yeah, absolutely. But she's also got, it's Rebecca Harding. She'll be on tomorrow, I think so.
Okay.
Well, Thea, is there something also that, in particular, that you're looking out for?
Well, I'm quite interested to see how the debate, from a technology standpoint, how the debate on blockchain moves forward. So 2 or 3 years ago, that really kind of hit the Sibos discussion, not necessarily so much in the main stage, but in the fringes, where in fact a lot of the really interesting stuff does happen at Sibos around and about the sessions as well as in the sessions. And I think maybe we've seen some moves forward in terms of blockchain adoption, especially perhaps in trade, although I think there's still quite a good deal of skepticism about how quickly it will become valuable. So I'm quite interested to take a read on blockchain from Sibos.
Now, Thea, you've already mentioned Inner Tribe. It always offers a range of innovation ideas. You can't help to get innovative as a result of it. And of course, Sir Tim Berners-Lee is there tomorrow morning here in Toronto. I mean, how big a deal is that?
That is a pretty big deal, I think. But Sibos does well down the years in getting really good speakers. And I think one of the other things they'll talk about in Inner Tribe is the follow-up that's happened since one of the more recent, really exciting speakers that Sibos had, which was Bill Gates. A few years ago, they're going to pick up on what he said about financial inclusion and has the banking industry kept pace with what he said. So the challenge is for people here to listen to what these really interesting guys say and act upon it, take advantage of these insights and do something with it, I think.
I can't imagine a world without the World Wide Web,
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Chris, if you could sum up the mood of the industry and perhaps the delegates coming here this week.
A tricky thing to do, but I think there's an amount of cautious optimism. I mean, I think if you look at kind of some pure bank metrics at the moment, they've kind of come to terms with some of the kind of regulatory changes over the last 10 years or so, particularly Basel III, and you can see that most of the big banks are kind of meeting their kind of requirements on a kind of, in terms of right-sizing their balance sheets and getting a handle of the capital requirements, but from a return on equity perspective, not as impressive, and so particularly European banks are lagging the North American banks, and that's a big factor. So they still need to kind of make sure that they're kind of driving new sources of revenue and getting costs down. So there's still a lot of work to be done off here.
Cautious optimism.
Indeed.
I like that, Tim. I think
well,
that's
thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
both to
Thanks very
Thea, Catherine, and also Chris. Great to have your insights and thoughts.
Thank you.
Well, it's nearly all we have for you on our first Good Morning Sibos, but Nadine, you're off somewhere now, right? Where are
I
you
am
off to?
indeed. I'm going upstairs, I think. I'm going to the Learn Zone to find out what people are looking forward to this week, and that's Talking Sibos at 10:45.
That's right. It'll be interesting to hear what they have to say. So do stay tuned to SibosTV throughout the week for hot debates, session previews, and all the latest news from the conference.
And up next, one of the opening sessions of the day, Cybersecurity, Trends and Implications in Financial Services from Conference Room 2. Goodbye for now.
Bye for
See
now.
you soon.